Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. And today we are doing the long-awaited post-dental school Q&A life update. We're answering questions during this big transition point in my life. If you have missed it, I've mentioned it in like every video for the past like 2 months, but I just graduated dental school. I did dental school in Las Vegas, Nevada, and now I have moved to Arizona, and we are beginning the process of, real life. Working a job as a dentist, continuing social media or not. Just kidding, I am, but like a lot of you guys think that I am quitting. Anyways, you guys had a lot of questions, so I asked on the YouTube community post. Then I also posted one of those Instagram little question boxes. So we're gonna answer a bunch of the frequently asked questions. Some of it is definitely going to be dental related, but some of it is also just life related. So if you don't know dentistry, you should still be okay watching this video. Give this video a thumbs up if you like an occasional Q&A. I feel like it's just a good way to check in with you guys. And I did adjust the filming setup a little bit today. I hope it's a little bit better. I don't know if this is going to be the next video I post after my first video in this setup, but we're just playing around with lighting and everything. So starting off with question 1, what will you be doing to celebrate finishing school? So when I am filming this, it is actually just at the beginning of July. I was going to film this a lot sooner, but I wanted to wait until I actually officially had my first dentist job lined up, which I still don't, but anyways, I figured I'm not gonna delay it anymore. But Ian and I went on a trip to Japan as my little post-graduation celebration. It was super fun. I shared a lot of that on my Instagram stories and a couple Instagram posts. Also, between school ending and graduation, I went on a little Disneyland trip with one of my friends. And then after graduation, my family and I all went to Zion National Park, did a little hiking trip. So did a little bit of everything. I feel like I've already had a summer when summer's really just starting. But yes, definitely got a lot of celebrating in. Someone asked, will you be moving now that you are finished? As I mentioned earlier, yes, we just moved to Arizona. Partially it was for a job that I no longer am going to be taking, but also because Ian has a lot of family here. We've been here a lot. I like the desert weather. I love a dry heat. It's still more affordable than where we're from. We're both from California originally. Not really ready to move back there, so this is where we're here for the foreseeable future, and we're liking it so far. We are renting a house. I have my own filming space, which is super nice. Ian and I used to share an office, and he works from home when I do my filming. It's just really hard to be in the same room, so we really wanted to have a 3-bedroom, and that's what we got, and it's so nice to have my own space. All right, someone asked, Kathryn Mueller DDS, correct? My degree is actually DMD, so when you're a dentist, you're either a DDS or a DMD. It's not the same as medical school being MD or DO. Those are actually different schools, and the coursework is slightly different, but DMD, DDS, they're literally the exact same thing. They're just different letters. I believe it started as DDS, and then some schools changed to DMD just to kind of be less focused on surgery because we're doctors of dental medicine, not just performing surgery. So yes, I will be Kathryn Mueller, DMD, or I am. Someone asked, was dental school harder or easier than you thought it would be? Did you always know you wanted to go into that profession? So in ways, it was easier than I thought. Looking back at the coursework I had in college, I hated doing physics, calculus, all the problem sets, organic chemistry. Those were just ridiculously insane classes that, looking back, they just honestly aren't that relevant to when you're actually a doctor. But when it comes to dental school, it's a lot of memorization, and memorizing is one of my strengths. I wouldn't say I have a photographic memory, but when I make charts, I can kind of visualize those when I am trying to recall them. So since dental school was mostly memorization, that made it a little bit easier, but you have so many more classes to worry about that's what made it hard. You basically have 13 finals in 1 week, and it was just there was not enough time in the day to ever give that much time into studying. So, and then by the end of dental school, you are mostly just seeing patients, and I didn't feel that was that hard. Obviously there are challenges to every patient, and you have difficult cases and everything, but you're no longer in the school mindset. It's more what you were trying to do the whole time. So by the time you're done with 2nd year of dental school, you're honestly in the clear. So I don't know, I hear people say you couldn't pay me to ever go back to dental school, but overall I loved dental school. I made so many amazing friendships, so many close relationships with my future colleagues. You're never gonna be in a place where you're surrounded by that many professionals again. So many people to ask advice to, things like that. I honestly just had a great time. What were some things that shocked you when you got into dental school? Random things you just completely did not expect? I mean, I honestly don't really feel I was super prepared for what dental school was going to be like. Like I definitely did my shadowing and everything, but you really don't know until you get in there. And I feel like one thing I didn't know that I probably would have known more if I were an assistant before doing dental school was how much lab work there is. Like just how much time I spend at the wet lab, like pouring up stone, trimming stone, like all these little like tools that you have to use, like wire bending for ortho, just like some crazy things that like you just like don't think about. Like it's not all just like drilling on a tooth and filling it with composite. Did you ever find it hard to get motivation to go to the gym when you were swamped with work? I know some people who are like, you know, during finals, they have to have their gym time because that's just like their time to clear their head. But for me, like during those really crazy finals weeks, I just wouldn't go to the gym at all. It's not unusual to take a couple weeks off from the gym throughout the year, whether you're sick, you're on a trip, or you're super busy. But for me, I couldn't really enjoy a workout while I was so stressed about school that I just didn't work out. So during finals, it was never a peak time for my health, but that's okay. It's finals week. It's never supposed to be great. Or if I had like a lot of midterms where I would skip the gym, and I would never feel bad about it because you have to think about all those other workouts that you made it to. Missing a few because it wasn't as high on your priority list is just not an issue. As a future dental student, I am so curious. Are you going to specialize? Was there a specific moment that helped you decide why or why not you were going to continue your education and training? So I did post a little reel, but I actually graduated as the valedictorian of my dental school class, which means I had the highest GPA. So I definitely value education and I love learning. And even when I decided that I was not going to specialize, which answer to the question, I am not specializing and I am not doing a GPR, that never stopped me from wanting to do well in my classes. Like that's just who I am. And it's an interesting position to be in because generally people expect that if you're at the top of your class, you're going to be specializing. Whereas constantly getting faculty who didn't even necessarily know that I was the top of my class, they just saw I was doing really good quality work. They were constantly asking me to specialize. They're saying I should specialize. And it just gets to a point where like, why can't I just strive to be an amazing general dentist? Why can only the top portions of the class, why can't we have hardworking, smart people, which honestly everyone in my dental school class they're all hardworking, smart people, but you know what I mean? Why can't we also just want to do general dentistry? For me, none of the specialties interested me enough to want to do full time. I love general dentistry. If there's anything that interests me down the road, it would probably be a little bit more cosmetic dentistry, a little more focused on like fixed prosthetics. So you could go into a pros residency, but that's a lot of removable as well. So none of them interested me enough. And something I absolutely loved about dental school and starting to see patients was just building long-term relationships with them. I want to be that dentist that I'm seeing my patients year after year, forming those relationships. And as a specialist, it's a lot more in and out of your patients. Like if you're an endodontist, you come in, someone gets a root canal, you might never see them again. But if you're someone's general dentist, they're going to be coming back to you every year. And that's just something that I really love and that I really wanted. So it just makes the most sense to do general dentistry. In terms of not doing a residency, I do feel like I got a lot of clinical experience from my dental school. That's actually why I chose UNLV. You can get a ton of clinical experience. Honestly, I could have gotten even more my last year in things like endo and OS. Those just don't tend to be like the things I love the most, so I didn't do as much. Maybe I should have, but honestly I had a lot going on anyway. But yeah, I know a lot of residencies you get to do like more molar endo. I already got to do quite a bit of molar endo, more oral surgery. I did plenty of oral surgery as well. Like I said, I did a pretty complex bridge case as kind of like I consider it like my senior capstone project, but it just was my bridge case, but I learned a lot from that as well. One thing I definitely would have learned from a residency would be implant placement because not a lot of dental schools really teach that in their actual dental school program. So that would have been nice to know. But also with the residency, you're not necessarily guaranteed any specific treatments and a lot of them go on rotations and it's hard to see your patients. So especially at the GPR we had at my dental school, I got a lot of mixed feedback about it. And unless I was 100% sure about it, I didn't want to pursue that. I figured I'll just take some good high quality CE courses when I'm ready for that. And then you can really tailor it to what you want. I definitely want to take some CE on implants as well as Botox for therapeutic as well as cosmetic purposes, and you're not learning that in a residency. So things like that. A bonus of a residency is you are probably getting paid. As for CE, you are paying for yourself, but if you compare maybe the income of a first-year dentist minus the CE, it may be about the same, or you're probably still earning more as a dentist. Anyways, it just isn't the path I chose, but I do think for a lot of people, a GPR or AAGD is a great path. So kind of continuing this on, do you think your school prepared you clinically to work without a GPR? Would you recommend looking for a school based on clinical experience? experience solely for not having to do a residency. That actually is why I chose my school. I knew I was going to get a lot of clinical experience, and when I was interviewing at other schools, I just was not getting that same reassurance you'd feel ready to practice after graduation. So I always feel like at the end of the day, clinical experience is the biggest thing to look for, because I feel like that's why you're going to dental school, to do that clinical work while having that oversight from faculty to get advice, to ask questions, to learn. So I personally think choosing a school based on clinical experience is a great thing to do. Okay, now getting into working. Someone asked, what are some things you would look for when applying to offices if you decide not to specialize? So I started my search for jobs way too early. Like, I didn't realize, like, people were saying like, oh, you should be looking by like a year before graduation. If you're trying to work in a private office, that is just way too soon. Like, if you are looking to relocate for a really good job, obviously you need to figure that out before graduation to kind of plan where you're moving to and everything. But I already knew where I wanted to move. I wasn't going to move specifically for a job. So I spent a good amount of time looking at both DSO, dental service organizations, so that's like corporate dentistry. Basically, they have doctors sometimes that will specifically own the offices, but it's supported by like a larger organization, and also looking for private offices. And whenever I looked for a private office, they were always hiring like right then and there. So you couldn't really be applying like 5 months before you started working. Also, I graduated like mid-May and kind of wanted to have a little summer for myself before I start working like for the rest of my life, which is very normal. A lot of my classmates are taking the summer off before they're starting to work. So applying early to those jobs just didn't necessarily make sense. So yeah, something that I have been looking for in an office is definitely a mentorship. Because I'm not doing a residency, it would be nice to have someone there to kind of guide me through more complex cases. That can definitely be hard to find. I would definitely like a pretty modern office with scanning, not just impressions. I also prefer a lot more fixed prosthetics than removable prosthetics. So just kind of the patient demographic that would be more fixed as opposed to like partials and dentures, although I do like to do an occasional partial and denture. And you also look for staff that has been there for a long time and really enjoys the office, because that tells you that people are happy where they work. So I've already had a couple contracts that have not worked out for me so far. Again, I'm still looking to have a little bit of a summer before I start working, so I am still on the job hunt now, but I already have my license active. I already have everything I need. So as soon as I find a job, and if they're ready for me to come on, I'm ready to go. But yeah, I have had a contract from a corporate office as well as a private office, and both of those had things that just didn't work out. So yeah, I thought I would have had something locked in by now, unfortunately, but we don't, and that's okay. Someone asked, with you done with school, are you going to continue this channel or focus on your dental career? What path motivates you to your passion? I honestly love doing both. Ever since I was young, I've always loved being busy, and I honestly can't imagine having gone through dental school without having YouTube and everything to focus on. As soon as school lightened up, I transitioned into YouTube, and it's just kind of been my creative outlet. A lot of people who do YouTube full-time, which is a reason why I feel like I couldn't do it full-time, is it just eventually feels like work. And right now, if I still have like dentistry and everything, that is like my real job, and this is still my creative outlet. And I love dentistry, like I really love doing it. So I have both, and I'm lucky that I love both. But yes, I have no plans to quit YouTube. Honestly, I don't see myself doing legging reviews for the rest of my life. Like, that's just not a reasonable thing to expect. I mean, I don't have any plans to quit anytime soon, but definitely it's not going to be something I do forever, which I feel like some people don't necessarily have like a backup plan when they're content creators. And I just feel like it's good to have a backup plan. Like, you have to think, can you see yourself doing this exact thing in 10 years? For me, no. I'd love to start doing more day in the life of a dentist videos. I know you guys wanted to see that as well. We gotta wait until I'm actually practicing to do that. But things like that, maybe some actual dental content, maybe start a whole new dental YouTube channel to get into some of that kind of stuff. So the YouTube journey and the dentistry journey, they're both continuing on, and they're both side by side. You know, I love them both. Someone also asked, what is it like looking for a job? What did you have to do? So if you're going the corporate dentistry route, there's a lot of recruiters who come to your school, and then you get a contact and they can kind of set you up with offices to go see and find a good fit for you, and then kind of go from there. But with private offices, I have looked at some dental matchmaking type Facebook groups. A practice owner will post, hey, I'm looking for an associate. An associate will comment, hey, I'd love to, like, you know, hear more about this kind of thing, or you as an associate could say, hey, I'm looking for an office in Arizona. And then a practice owner can say, hey, I'd love to talk to you, I'd love to hire you, etc. So there are things like that. There's things like Indeed, you can see job postings. There's like your local dental organization, like the Arizona State Dental Association has job listings as well. And you just gotta put yourself out there. I feel like with Indeed job posts, I haven't had as much luck like just hitting the spam apply button because it's so impersonal. So if there is an email and I can actually say something personal or just write like a little cover letter kind of thing, I would do that too, just to kind of set you aside, because I feel like if I was posting jobs on Indeed and I just saw like a spam apply, like what actually sets people apart to the point where you'd actually want to look at their application? Especially as a new grad, not a lot of private practices are really interested in hiring new grads. What was your favorite year of dental school? I feel like my favorite year was my third year, because that was when my patients really started picking up, but we were still in classes and people still were like going to classes. Some of our classes had a pretty harsh attendance policy. I'm the kind of girl, I'm never skipping class. You know, you won't find me skipping class. I was always there. I'm always paranoid about taking attendance, and I just feel like I learn better when I'm actually sitting there listening. So I liked that all of my classmates were still kind of like going to class during our third year, and my patients were picking up, and I was just like super busy, but in a really like fun, productive, learning a lot way. So fourth year is almost better in a way because you've barely any classes to worry about at all, so it's like really not that stressful. But I just feel like I wasn't seeing as much of my friends in my fourth year, so I feel like third was better. Someone asked, do you regret not taking a gap year before studying? So if you guys did not know, I went straight from high school to college to dental school, no breaks in between, and I actually liked it that way. I feel like now it would be hard to get back into studying and getting back into that schedule, but since I never really got the chance to experience like what life was like without studying, I feel like it just kind of went from one to the other, and I personally liked it that way. It also just like kind of makes your life easier because you don't have to search for jobs after college to like find something to do during your gap year, which sounds weird, but it's true. Like, it's easy when you just have a plan to go to school. Like all my friends who are going to residency, like you don't have to worry about finding a job. It's just easy. Like you apply to your residency, you're going, and you don't have to think about anything else. But applying for jobs is like a lot more work. I definitely am feeling a little bit burnt out by the end of school. Now that I've had like, you know, my time to rest since graduation, I'm feeling a little bit better, but you definitely do get tired of it at the end of dental school. But I feel like I would either way because you just had so much studying that you're bound to be a little burnt out. Someone asked, mentally, did dental school take a toll? Did you have any free time at all? Like I said, I have always been a person who thrives off being busy. Like when I was a kid, I would do 20 dance classes a week. Like I was a dancer growing up. Like I'd come home from school, I would have like 2 hours to do my homework. I would do all my homework, and then I went to dance from like 6 to 9 p.m. And then the weekends, I danced all weekend long. So I got really good at managing my time. And then in college, I still had dance teams. So I was still busy. I was going to like 2 basketball games a week on top of practice, on top of clubs that I was in, on top of studying. And then all of a sudden in dental school, I had way more classes, but it was no longer dancing. So that was a huge area of my schedule that was freed up. And I spent a little more time on my YouTube. So, and honestly, like there were times where I was very stressed. Like honestly, whenever I had an oral pathology exam, I was a wreck. Like if Ian spoke to me even slightly in the wrong way, I would snap. But he knew that it was because of the exam. So there were times like that where my stress was definitely clear. Also, every time I had an oral pathology exam, I would get a canker sore, you know, just literally physical signs of stress. But as soon as those exams were over, that was only like maybe 3 weeks out of the semester, I was back to being fine again. Again, being busy is not something that I see as a bad thing. Like I really enjoy having something to do all the time. Also, dental school is very social, so I felt like I was having my social life every day when I was at school, having lunch with my friends. Then when I come home, I have Ian, so we're socializing then too. So I never really felt like I was missing out on anything. My friends and I still did things from time to time, but we saw each other so often, like during school. Once we were done with like a week of seeing each other, we're like, all right, see you Monday. We had to have like our, you know, recovery time on the weekends to ourselves and everything. And honestly, I attribute definitely a lot of my mental health to having not only Ian, but also the cats. And having that emotional support from a furry little friend is just huge. Someone asked, did you have to do any remediations? So in dental school, it's kind of unheard of to not fail anything. I didn't fail any of my classes. Like I never had to remediate a whole course, and remediate is just like redo if you get below a C. I never had to remediate a course. I never had to remediate a written exam, but I'm trying to think when it was. I think it was just maybe 1 or 2 operative exams. Like I don't even know what they're called anymore. My gosh, it's been so long. But I'm pretty sure I failed my class 3 composite restoration, not the prep. I don't know, if you're in dental school, they go so hard on you in sim lab. Those sim lab clinical exams are just crazy. Like my work that I did in sim lab that would get like absolutely like wrecked by criticism, when you do it in clinic, the doctors are like, wow, this is the most amazing filling I've ever seen. And you're like, why were we grading it so hard in SimLab? Obviously, you have to be graded hard in SimLab so that you can establish really high standards for yourself. So when you're doing work on patients and the situations are not always ideal, you have saliva, you have heme, the patient has limited opening, things like that, then, you know, you're able to overcome some of those obstacles, but it's just crazy. So yes, I did have to remediate 1, maybe 2. I don't know why I wouldn't remember the second. At least 1 SimLab operative exam. Okay, I feel like I have covered everything. If you guys have more questions, leave them in the comments below. I feel like that was definitely more dentistry focused than life focused. Honestly, not too many life updates other than having moved here, but I have been updating you guys on certain things on Instagram stories and things like that. If you enjoyed this video and made it this far, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for being here. I love all of you guys so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye!